Hello everyone and welcome back to EverlastCyber. In today's video, we'll be going through some revised practice questions and answers for the ISC2 CC certification exam. The questions in this video will cover all domains, and there will also be explanations to let you know why the answers that were chosen are the best answers for the questions that are presented. So without wasting time, let's dive right in. Question 1. What is a message digest? A. An algorithm used to generate random numbers. B. A cryptographic key used to encrypt data. C. A compressed representation of a message. D. A method of exchanging digital certificates. Option A describes a random number generator, however, it is not a message digest. Option B describes an encryption key, but this is not a message digest. For option C, a message digest is a fixed size hash value that is generated from a larger data set, and it represents the content of the data in a compressed, unique form. Option D describes a digital certificate protocol, but it is not related to message digests. So with respect to this question, we'll begin with option C. A message digest is a compressed representation of a message. It is actually a fixed size hash value that is generated from a larger data set. Question 2. What is the purpose of encryption in cybersecurity? A. To hide information from unauthorized users. B. To slow down network traffic. C. To delete sensitive data. D. To monitor network activity. For option A, encryption protects information sent over the network so that it can be accessed by outsiders. So it basically works by scrambling the data into a secret code that can only be unlocked with a unique digital key. So in that way, it hides information from unauthorized users. The other options are incorrect. So for option B, while encryption can sometimes have a minor impact on network performance, that is not the sole purpose of encryption in cybersecurity. For option C, encryption does not delete data, rather it transforms it into an unreadable format. And for option D, encryption actually makes the network monitoring more challenging as the encrypted traffic is not easily inspectable. So with respect to this question, the correct answer is option A. Encryption protects the information that is sent over the network so that it cannot be read by outsiders. Question 3. Which is the most accurate form of authentication? A. Token. B. Fingerprint scanner. C. Badge scanner. D. One-time passcode. While token-based authentication is secure, it does not verify the user's identity, only that the user possesses the token. So if this token is stolen from the user, it can as well be used to, access information. Fingerprint scanner is part of biometric authentication method, and this is considered as a highly secure and accurate form of authentication. This is because fingerprint scanners match the unique patterns on an individual's fingerprint, and this is highly distinctive for each person. No two persons have the same fingerprint pattern, so the fingerprint scanner is the most accurate form of authentication. For the badge scanner, a badge can be stolen, so it's not an accurate form of authentication, as well as the one-time passcode, which can be intercepted. So this makes them less secure than the biometric method. So with respect to the question, the most accurate form of authentication is the fingerprint scanner. Question 4. The predetermined set of instructions or procedures to sustain business operations after a disaster is commonly called A. Disaster recovery plan. B. Business impact analysis. C. Business impact plan. D. Business continuity plan. A disaster recovery plan focuses specifically on restoring IT systems and data after a disaster. A disaster recovery plan is actually part of the business continuity plan. For option B, business impact analysis is a process that identifies and evaluates the potential effect of disruptions on business operations. However, it is not the actual plan for sustaining operation. For option C, this term is not commonly used in cybersecurity, so we're not going to go with that. For option D, the business continuity plan is the comprehensive plan that includes all the procedures to maintain and quickly resume business operations in the event of a disaster. So for this, we'll be going with option D. Now, there might be arguments that the answer could be the disaster recovery plan. However, if we read the question well, it says the predetermined set of instructions or procedures to sustain business operations after an activity. So, the business continuity plan is a more comprehensive plan that includes all the procedures, including the disaster recovery plan. The disaster recovery plan is just a subset of the business continuity plan because the disaster recovery plan focuses only on restoring the IT systems and data after the disaster. So that's why the best answer for this question is option D, the business continuity plan. Question 5. What is the process of verifying a user's identity called? A. Authentication. B. Confidentiality. C. Authorization. D. Identification. Authentication is the process of verifying a user's identity, and it is done through various means like the use of passwords, biometrics, and other credentials. Confidentiality is the protection of information from unauthorized access, but it has nothing to do with verifying identities. Authorization is the process of determining what actions a user is allowed to perform after they have been authenticated, while identification is the process of recognizing a user. However, it does not verify their identity. So with respect to the question, the best possible answer is option A, authentication. So it is the process of verifying a user's identity through the use of passwords, biometrics, or other credentials. Question 6. What is non-repudiation? A. The protection against an individual falsely denying the occurrence of an action. B. The protection against an individual falsely denying having performed an action. C. The protection against an individual falsely accusing someone else of performing an action. D. The protection against an individual falsely admitting having performed an action. For this, we'll be going with option B. Non-repudiation is the protection against an individual falsely denying having performed an action. So, once that action is performed, the individual cannot later deny having performed that action. That is what non-repudiation is. Question 7. What is the challenge with using knowledge-based authentication alone? A. It is not vulnerable to attacks. B. It is susceptible to various attacks. C. It is not vulnerable to impersonation. D. It is not vulnerable to denial of an action. For this, we'll be going with option B. Knowledge-based authentication alone is susceptible to various attacks like brute force attacks, social engineering, password guessing, and even phishing. So, it's advised to use knowledge-based authentication in addition to other forms of authentication in order to ensure that data is secure. Question 8. Which of the following is a characteristic of a strong password? A. A single word found in the dictionary. B. Less than 8 characters in length. C. Contains a combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. D. Username and birth dates. Going through the options, it's obvious that the best answer is option C. A strong password consists of a combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. This complexity makes it harder for attackers to guess or crack the password, especially through the use of dictionary attacks or brute force attacks. I've also put up a picture of what a strong password looks like, so it's advisable to always use passwords that contains a combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. Question 9. Which of these is a method of reducing risk by implementing security controls such as encryption, firewalls, and intrusion detection systems to prevent cyber attacks and protect against the consequences of a security breach? A. Risk mitigation. B. Risk acceptance. C. Risk avoidance. D. Risk transfer. Risk mitigation involves the implementation of measures and controls to reduce the likelihood or impact of risks. Risk acceptance involves acknowledging and accepting the risk without taking action to reduce it. Risk avoidance involves eliminating the risk entirely, and this is often done by avoiding the activity that creates that risk. Risk transfer involves shifting the risk to another party. This is usually done through insurance or outsourcing. With respect to the question, it mentions a method of reducing the risk by implementing security controls. So the best possible answer is option A, risk mitigation. So this involves the use of security controls like encryption, firewalls, and intrusion detection system to reduce the likelihood and impact of the risks. Question 10. Which of these users is less likely to have a privileged account? A. Security analyst. B. Help desk. C. External worker. D. System administrator. A security analyst will typically have elevated privileges in order to perform security-related tasks. Help desk will have some privileges to assist users, such as for resetting their passwords, but it is not as extensive as the kind of permissions that a system administrator will have. An external worker will have limited access, and they will often be restricted to only what is necessary for their specific tasks, so they are less likely to have a privileged account. While a system administrator will almost always have a highly privileged account in order to manage and configure systems. So for this question, we'll be going with option C. An external worker is less likely to have a privileged account because they'll be restricted to only what is necessary for their specific tasks. Question 11. When an outsider follows an employee into a building without providing a badge, what kind of attack is this called? A. Piggybacking. B. Brute force. C. Spear phishing. D. Dictionary attack. Piggybacking is when an unauthorized person gains access to a restricted area by following someone that has legitimate access. Brute force is a method that is used to crack password by trying all possible combinations. However, it is not related to physical access. Spear phishing is a targeted phishing attack where the attacker sends a fraudulent message to a specific individual, and their whole aim is to steal credentials or to install malware. However, this is not related to physical access. A dictionary attack is a method of breaking password by systematically entering every word in a predefined list, but this is also unrelated to physical access. So for this question, we'll be going with option A, piggybacking. This is when an unauthorized person gains access into a restricted area by following someone that has legitimate access. Question 12. Which of the following is not an ethical canon of the ISC2? A. Advance and protect the profession. B. Act honorably, honestly, justly, responsibly, and legally. C. Advance and protect the profession. D. Provide active and qualified service to the principal. Now we know that there are 4 ethical canons of the ISC2, and if we go through the options, the one that is not an ethical canon is option D. The 4 codes of ethics for the ISC2 are: 1. To protect society, the common good, necessary public trust and confidence, and the infrastructure. To act honorably, honestly, justly, responsibly, and legally. To provide diligent and competent service to principals. And to advance and protect the profession. So option D is not an ethical canon. Question 13. What is the term used to describe the act of spying on someone's computer screen to gain unauthorized access to sensitive information? A. Eavesdropping. B. Shoulder surfing. C. Tailgating. D. Piggybacking. Eavesdropping refers to secretly listening to conversations, especially in the context of intercepting communication, but it does not describe the act of spying on someone's computer in order to gain unauthorized access. Shoulder surfing, on the other hand, is observing someone's computer screen or keyboard in order to obtain sensitive information such as passwords or personal data. Tailgating is similar to piggybacking, however, it refers to following someone into a restricted area without authorization, while piggybacking involves an unauthorized person gaining physical access to a restricted area by following someone that has legitimate access. So with respect to question 13, the correct answer is option B, shoulder surfing. This is observing someone's computer screen or keyboard in order to obtain sensitive information like their passwords, PIN code, or other personal data. Question 14. According to the ISC2 ethics policy, complaints must be submitted: A. Within 1 year of the accused infraction. B. Orally. C. In writing. D. Anonymously. For this, we'll be going with option C. According to the ISC2 ethics policy, complaints must be submitted in writing in order to ensure a formal and documented process for handling ethical issues. Question 15. Which of the following documents contains elements that are not mandatory? A. Guideline. B. Policies. C. Regulations. D. Procedures. Guidelines are recommended practices that provide advice on how to achieve certain goals. However, they are not mandatory. Policies, on the other hand, are formal rules that an organization must follow, and they are mandatory and they must be adhered to by all members of the organization. Regulations are rules that are enforced by an authority, like a government or a regulatory body, and they are mandatory. Procedures are detailed steps that must be followed in order to accomplish specific tasks. They are mandatory and they ensure consistency on how the tasks are performed. So we'll be going with option A. Guidelines are not mandatory. They are flexible and they can be adapted to different situations. Question 16. What is the first step in the risk management process? A. Mitigate risks. B. Assess risks. C. Identify risks. D. Analyze risks. The first step in the risk management process is option C, to identify the risks. So it is at these steps that the potential risks are recognized and documented, and this now sets the stage for further analysis and management. Question 17. Eddie has been able to hack and obtain some information about XYZ company and is threatening to release that information to the public if they do not pay him. What kind of attack is this? A. Leak. B. Breach. C. Ransomware attack. D. Brute force attack. Now let's take a look at the options. A leak is an accidental or intentional exposure of information. It does not specifically involve a threat to release that information. So we're not going to be going with that. A breach is an unauthorized access to data or systems. But the key aspect in our scenario is that Eddie is threatening to release that information. So this is not a breach. A ransomware attack involves an attacker obtaining sensitive information and demanding payment. And this is the exact scenario we have here. So first, Eddie has hacked and obtained information about XYZ company, and he is threatening to release that information to the public, and he is requesting for a payment in order not to release the information. So this is a clear case of a ransomware attack. Although the information that was obtained is not encrypted, but the threat to release that information if they do not pay him is a classic case of a ransomware attack. For option D, brute force attack involves attempting to gain unauthorized access by trying various combinations in order to crack the password. So that's not the answer we are looking for. So with respect to this scenario, the best answer is option C, the ransomware attack. So this involves an attacker obtaining sensitive information or encrypting the data and then demanding payment in order to prevent or stop the release or damage to that company. Question 18. Kimberly logs onto a system to read a file. In this scenario, who is Kimberly? A. Process. B. Object. C. Subject. D. Predicate. Process refers to a running instance of a program, however, it is not applicable to a person. An object refers to a resource or data that is accessed or manipulated, but this does not apply to a person. A subject is an entity that interacts with or performs action on an object. In the case we have here, Kimberly is an entity that is performing the action of logging on to read a file. Predicate is a part of a rule or policy that specifies conditions for access. However, it is not a person or an entity. So in this scenario, Kimberly is the subject. Option C. She is the one that interacts with or performs action on an object, which is the file. Question 19. A bollard is what type of access control? A. Technical. B. Physical. C. Administrative. D. Multi-factor. For this, we'll be going with option B. Physical access controls involves physical barriers and measures to control access to physical spaces. So this could be locks, guards, fences, or bollards. Bollards are used to control or direct road traffic in order to prevent vehicles from entering restricted areas. So they serve as barriers to protect buildings, pedestrians, and infrastructure from vehicle impact. Question 20. Which of these is a type of administrative security control? A. No sign entry. B. Access control list. C. Badge acceptors. D. Acceptable use policies. The no entry sign is a physical indication that communicates a restriction to a particular area. So this is a physical security control. An access control list is a technical control that specifies which users or systems are permitted to access specific resources within a network. So this is a technical control. Badge readers are devices that read identification credentials in order to grant access to restricted areas. Now, They are part of the access control systems, but they are more of a physical control or a technical control. Acceptable use policies defines the ways in which computers and network resources can be used within an organization. So this is more of an administrative controls because they outline the acceptable behaviors, restrictions, and responsibilities for employees regarding the use of the organizational assets. So we'll be going with option D. Acceptable use policies are administrative controls that defines the ways in which computers and network resources can be used within an organization. So they outline the acceptable behaviors, restrictions, and responsibilities of the employees regarding the use of the organizational assets. Question 21. What does password hashing do? A. Stores the password in plain text form. B. Change the password into a new value periodically. C. Encrypts the password to prevent unauthorized access. D. Changes the password into an irreversible string of characters. For this, we'll be going with option D. Hashing transforms a password into a fixed length string of characters that cannot be reversed to retrieve the original password. So this adds a layer of security by ensuring that even if the hash is exposed, the original password cannot be easily determined. Question 22. Which of the following is a type of corrective security control? A. Guidelines. B. Patches. C. Encryption. D. Intrusion detection system. A guideline is a recommendation, but it is not a corrective measure. Corrective controls are taken to fix or remedy issues identified in the system with the use of patches. Encryption is a preventive control that is used to protect data by making it unreadable without the appropriate decryption key. Intrusion detection systems are detective controls that are designed to identify and alert on potential security breaches. However, they do not correct the issues directly. So with respect to the options we have, option B, patches, is a type of corrective security control because it updates and applies fixes to softwares in order to correct the vulnerabilities or issues that are in it. Question 23. What is the primary purpose of logging and monitoring security events? A. Encrypting data. B. Classifying data. C. Identifying security incidents. D. Managing data retention. Encrypting data involves securing data by converting it into an unreadable format without the appropriate decryption key, but this is not directly related to logging and monitoring. Classifying data involves categorizing data based on its sensitivity and importance. However, this is not the main purpose of logging and monitoring. Identifying security incidents is the main purpose of logging and monitoring because by tracking and analyzing security events, the organization can detect and respond to potential security incidents or breaches. Managing data retention involves determining how long data is kept and when it is archived or deleted. However, this is not the purpose of logging and monitoring. So with respect to the question, we have the correct answer is option C. Identifying security incidents. That is the main purpose of logging and monitoring security events. Question 24. Which option is the most suitable for a network administrator to effectively control network access? A. IDS. B. SIM. C. NAC. D. HIDS. IDS monitors network traffic for signs of suspicious activities, however, it does not control access. SIM provides a comprehensive view of security events and it helps with analysis and incident response. However, it is not designed to control network access. NAC is specifically designed to enforce policies that controls which devices and users can access a network, while HIDS monitors and analyzes activities on individual hosts or devices. However, it does not control network access. So the answer we'll be going with is option C. NAC is used to enforce security policies, manage device compliance, and also restrict network access based on various factors that have been put in place. Question 25. An organization that uses a layered approach when designing its security architecture is using which of these security approaches? A. Network access control. B. Defense in depth. C. Zero trust. D. Network layers. For this, we'll be going with option B. Defense in depth involves implementing multiple layers of security controls like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and encryption in order to protect information and systems. So if one layer fails, there are additional layers that will provide protection. Question 26. Which access control model assigns access rights based on security labels and classifications? A. Role-based access control. B. Discretionary access control. C. Mandatory access control. D. Segregation of duties. Role-based access control assigns access rights based on the user roles within an organization. However, it doesn't do this based on the security labels. Discretionary access control allows the owners of the resources to control access to their resources. So they'll be able to specify which user will be able to access the resources that they created. Mandatory access controls uses security labels and classifications to enforce access control policies, while segregation of duties is a principle that is aimed to prevent fraud and error by distributing tasks among multiple people. So with respect to the question, we'll be going with option C, mandatory access control. So with this kind of access control, access is determined based on the sensitivity of the information and the user's clearance levels. And users cannot change access permissions because they are enforced by the system. Question 27. Which type of attack will effectively provide privileged access to a computer while hiding its presence? A. Trojans. B. Cross-site scripting. C. Phishing. D. Rootkits. Trojans are malicious programs that disguise as legitimate software, and while they can provide unauthorized access, they are not designed to hide their presence, so they can be easily found. Cross-site scripting attack involves injecting malicious scripts into web pages that are viewed by users. However, it does not provide privileged access to a computer or even hide its presence. Phishing involves tricking individuals into divulging sensitive information like their credential, while rootkits are specifically designed to gain privileged access into a system, and they also conceal their presence. So with respect to this, we'll be going with option D. Rootkits operate at a low level within the system and they remain undetected while providing unauthorized access. So like they open a back door for the hackers to gain access into the system, and they stay hidden for a long period of time where they do reconnaissance, to gather information in order to attack the system. Question 28. What is the ultimate objective of separation of duties? A. To ensure that audit trails are not tampered with. B. To ensure access controls are in place. C. To prevent employees from disclosing sensitive information. D. To ensure that no single individual can compromise the system. For this, we'll be going with option D. By dividing the responsibilities and tasks among multiple individuals, separation of duties reduces the risk of fraud and error because it will ensure that no single person has enough control to compromise the system. Question 29. What device is responsible for choosing the optimal routes for traffic flow on a network? A. Router. B. Switch. C. Hub. D. Firewall. Routers are designed to determine the best path for forwarding data packets between networks, and they use routing tables and protocols in order to choose the most efficient route. Switches operate at layer 2 and they are used to forward data within the same network. However, they are not used to route traffic between different networks. Hubs are simple devices that broadcast incoming traffic to all connected devices, and they do not make routing decisions. This is because they operate at the physical layer. Firewalls are security devices that are used to filter and control traffic based on rules. However, they do not determine the optimal routes for traffic. So we'll be going with option A. Routers use the routing tables and protocols in order to choose the most efficient routes for traffic flow on a network. Question 30. What is data remnants? A. The tendency of data to persist after it has been deleted. B. The ability of data to be recovered from backups. C. The process of securely deleting data from a storage device. D. The process of encrypting data to protect it from unauthorized access. For this, we'll be going with option A. Data remnants is the residual representation of data that remains even after it has been deleted or erased. This means that the data can still be recovered from the storage media even if it has been deleted with the use of some special software. Question 31. Which of these layers is not part of the TCP/IP model? A. Transport. B. Application. C. Internet. D. Physical. For this, we'll be going with option D. The TCP/IP model consists of 4 layers, which are the application layer, transport layer, internet layer, and network interface layer. So the physical layer is not a part of the TCP/IP model. However, it is a part of the OSI model. Question 32. What kind of attack targets high-ranking individuals and CEOs of organizations? A. Spear phishing. B. Whaling. C. Social engineering. D. Distributed denial of service. For this, we'll be going with option B. Whaling is a specialized type of spear phishing that specifically targets high-profile individuals in a company, such as the CEOs, the executives, and other senior leaders. Question 33. What form of malware can spread and infect numerous systems within a network without requiring human intervention? A. Virus. B. Adware. C. Spyware. D. Worm. A virus requires human interaction to spread, and this could be through the opening of an infected file or running an executable, so it attaches itself to files or programs and replicates itself. Adware is a software that displays advertisements and it may be bundled with legitimate applications. However, it does not spread on its own. Spyware is a type of malware that collects information about a user without their knowledge. However, it does not spread independently. Worm, on the other hand, is a self-replicating malware that can spread across networks and infect multiple systems without requiring human intervention. So, we'll be going with option D. Question 34. Which of the following refers to threats with unusually high operational and technical sophistication, spanning months or even years? A. Rootkits. B. Ping of death. C. Advanced persistent threats. D. Side channel. For this, we'll be going with option C. Advanced persistent threats, or APTs, are highly sophisticated and targeted attacks that operate over a long period of time. It usually involves multiple stages, including infiltration, internal reconnaissance, and data exfiltration, and it is designed to remain undetected for an extended period of time. Question 35. What method is commonly used to map live hosts in a network? A. Ping sweep. B. Geolocation. C. Trace routes. D. Wireshark. Ping sweep involves sending ICMP echo request packets to a range of IP addresses in order to determine which host is active and responding. Geolocation involves the determination of the physical location of an IP address. However, it does not map live hosts on a network. Trace route is used to trace the path that packets take from the source to the destination, and it shows the route as well as the hops along the way. However, it is not used for mapping live hosts. Wireshark is a network protocol analyzer that is used to capture and analyze network traffic. However, it is not used to map live hosts. So with respect to this question, we'll be going with option A, ping sweep. This is a method that is used to map live hosts in the network by sending ICMP echo request packets to a range of IP addresses in order to determine which host is active and responding. This brings us to the end of the questions and answers for the ISC2 CC certification exam. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and also drop a comment in the comment section if you found this video helpful. Also hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss any of our informative videos. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.